at the time, while they're defunding our public education, they're pumping more money into these private academies through a risky voucher system where there's no accountability from these schools, and it's expanded.
73rd District Assemblyman Nick Milroy joined 25th Senate District Representative Senator Robert Jauch for a listening session in Spooner Friday, March 23rd.
All the while, a lot of school teachers have been demoralized because of the debate with collective bargaining, as have a lot of public employees. Well, it's terribly troubling when teachers are demoralized because they're the ones that are educating our children. And we had a session where when we started, Governor Walker said he wanted to work in a bipartisan fashion, create bipartisan committees to focus on job growth. Their key pieces of legislation for jobs were a venture capital bill and a mining bill. And there was no bipartisan commission set up at the beginning of the session to work on these things. Instead, they worked behind closed doors with corporations to figure out exactly what the corporations wanted in these bills before they released them to the public. Now, if your focus is on creating jobs in Wisconsin, which should be the focus of everyone because we're in tight economic times, that's the goal, stated goal of both Republican and Democratic parties. You really need to work together to find what's in the best interest for all of Wisconsin. And one of the keys to building a strong economy is having a strong educational system. So it's very detrimental to try to rebuild an economy while at the same time you're slashing public education by $1.6 billion. First it was the collective bargaining fiasco. We had a lot of violations of open meeting laws. We had a governor pushing for something that he never campaigned on repealing. And after the collective bargaining fight, they pushed a very partisan redistricting map that would maximize political victories in the future for the Republican Party. The courts, it's been in the courts. Just yesterday, the court threw out the act that they passed. They said this is unconstitutional. You have to go back to the drawing board. But the real troubling thing about this whole redistricting process was that the Republican Party hired a private law firm to the tune of several hundreds of thousands of dollars, $400,000, taxpayer dollars, to draw these maps. They called individual legislators into secret meetings outside of the Capitol at this law firm and asked them to sign a secrecy oath stating that you will not talk to anybody about what is mentioned in these meetings when they were drawing the lines for the new legislative districts. To me, that's very troubling. That's not something any legislator should ever do, is sign a secrecy pledge to keep information away from the public that you are serving. The only good thing to come out of the redistricting is I actually pick up the city of Spooner. The way that they drew the map, we'll see what the courts do. Wisconsin was the first state to have publicly financed campaigns. Well, that was abolished in the state budget. And not only that, the way that we publicly financed campaigns in Wisconsin was on your tax checkoff. If you wanted to donate $1, you checked the little box and $1 came off of your refund and it went into a fund, a segregated fund, to help candidates run for election. I think it was, you can get up to a grant around $10,000, something to that effect. So there was a pretty good pool of money here. When they abolished this publicly funded financing of elections, they took that money, it was actual Wisconsin taxpayer citizens' money. They took it out of that fund to use to give tax breaks to corporations and help pass their budget. Also seen a tremendous disservice to our natural resources in Wisconsin. In northern Wisconsin, we have a natural resource-based economy. The key to our economy up here is forestry, forest products, and a lot of other natural resource-based businesses that keep people here in the Northwoods, including tourism. Specifically in the Lakes region here, we have a lot of tourism and a lot of people that want to retire and invest in our communities up here. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of environmental rollbacks this legislative session, including rollbacks for our wetlands laws and our shoreland zoning laws, which will create a lot of problems. It takes away local control. It lets developers override local zoning ordinances, will allow for more piers or more reconstruction of boathouses and things that really impact the public's right to use waterways. In Wisconsin, we have what's called the public trust doctrine, which means that the waters and the bed of lakes and streams are owned by the citizens of the state of Wisconsin in collective. People that own adjacent shoreline property are given a privilege to put out a certain size dock or pier. We no longer allow them to build boathouses because it impacts other people's rights and it destroys habitat. With these rollbacks, it's just going to increase those dilemmas and increase people's ability to enjoy the resources that are theirs. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to